Shubhankar, Thursday to Sunday were probably the most intense days for you as a golfer, concentration-wise. So how are you relaxing after a tough outing at Hoylake? Because I'm told you're with family in London.
Yes, hi Digvijay. First of all, thanks for having me on the show. Yes, I am with family in London. Looking forward to these 3-4 days. I'll finally do some touristy stuff. Normally, it's always work. And my whole family is here. Sister and mom have never been to London before. So we had already decided before they came to Scotland that we'll spend 4-5 days in London. So yes, happy that getting some time off, some family bonding time, especially as you mentioned, very high pressure packed days in Liverpool, especially those last 2 days where the weather was all over the place. Last day it didn't stop raining at all. So yesterday all day was spent kind of sleeping and doing laundry and just discussing with the family on how the week was. And today again we'll probably go and do some touristy stuff.
Yes, when you say you're doing laundry, that's the life of a traveling professional. Now, on Monday, Shubhankar, the Indian media splashed the headlines, best ever finish by an Indian golfer at the Open. It was across television, across the internet, across the print space as well. But what it doesn't tell you is how tough those 4 rounds were.
Honestly, I think the media has been really good to me this last 3-4 days. A lot of good articles have been published. But again, it's always hard to describe the emotion into words exactly as to what happened on ground. And, yes, it was just too many emotions in the last 4 days. And you know how this game is, where you're always on the edge. One hole can kind of take you out of the tournament, especially on the first 2 days. It's very easy to miss the cut by having one bad hole, as so many players would have done in the field. And even on the last 2 days, especially the last day where every shot was tough, right from a wedge shot to a 220-yard 2-iron shot. And till the last hole, till that last shot, I was trying to stay as much in the zone, not looking at the leaderboard, not thinking too much as to how I've played, if it has been good, if it hasn't been good. Till that last putt drops, you don't have the luxury of thinking about anything else. So considering all of that, all the conditions and everything, I'm really happy. It was definitely a very, very good performance. And it ranks right up there with all my good performances. I mean, I would probably rank this higher than my wins that I've had on the European Tour, with the field and especially with the weather and playing in British conditions, which are alien to us Indians who come from very different weather conditions and golf course conditions. And the style of golf we play and we grow up playing is very different to British links.
You took away my next question. I was going to ask you, is this your best round ever in professional golf? But this was your first major since 2019, Shubhankar. And after those 4 rounds, you were on that leaderboard contending with the likes of Jon Rahm, Jason Day, Rory McIlroy, who were all the superstars of professional golf. You sort of went in, you emerged with a much more enhanced reputation. What were the conversations like in the clubhouse post that round on Sunday?
Post the Open, yes. When the tournament finished and I went into the players' lounge. First thing was we were packing everything and trying to stay dry because it was raining all day. But when we did come back home, we were talking. The family was talking, and I got a lot of good messages. From peers who I play with on the European Tour, who I played with on the Indian Tour, grown up with. And whenever you get such recognition and such appreciation from your own friends who have played with you and you play the game, it really fills you with a lot of pride and with a lot of happiness. So for me personally, yes, I felt very, very happy. And, especially like you said, to contend with some of the best players in the world. And I've done that in the past in many events. Abu Dhabi was one such event last year where I finished second. But it's the Open. I mean, it's the oldest golf tournament, golf major in the world. It has been there since the 1800s. It has so much history. The Claret Jug has so much history. And I know every golfer comes to the Open with their best intention, with trying to do their best with all the prep that they can do, whether it be the world number 1 or world number 50. So knowing that everyone was here playing in probably the toughest conditions that links golf can offer, and then to contend to stand shoulder to shoulder with them and probably hit it as good as them or even better on the last day, because I was the only one with a bogey-free round. These are all the conversations that happened, and it kind of got me out of the zone and into a happy zone where I was like, okay, now I can sit back and enjoy. I've done really well.
Shubhankar, you ended the first round 3 under. You were 2 off the lead. It could have crossed your mind, hey, I'm close. I can go for this. I can win this. But as you've been telling us, golf is a very sort of brutal game where even one bad hole can wreck your round. So how did you sort of keep those thoughts away and just concentrate on the job at hand?
That's always a challenge that all of us have to kind of go through. It's never easy. You're always trying to do your best, stay in the moment. And that's always a challenge. That is the mental aspect of golf. That's why they always say that the game is played always in the head. It, just going and hitting balls on the range and hitting it really good means very little. Competition golf is very different. It's all about how you manage yourself, especially in conditions at links golf courses and at the Open Championship, where elements really play a very, very big role. It's just constantly telling ourselves to stay in the moment, not getting too elated or too disappointed with a bad shot. It's kind of maintaining that level-headedness throughout the round that keeps you going. And for me personally, that is something that really worked. And mention about my family. Without them, this was not possible. Obviously, they've done so much for me. They've always been with me throughout, and it takes a village to raise a sports person, like they say. But just their presence made me really calm, grounded me before the week started in Scotland, the Scottish Open. Even though I missed the cut and I was slightly sick, mom nursed me back to health. So just all of those small things, grounding myself, staying more in the moment, meditating a little bit, sleeping nice, getting home cooked food. Everything, every small bit helps in the end, and that's what kept me calm. And like, to answer your question, just to keep all those thoughts away and stay in the present till the end.
Yes, home cooked food always helps, especially when you're abroad. But Shubhankar, just let's look at the larger picture. There's a lot of debate in world golf at the moment about the ceasefire that's between LIV and the PGA Tour. But another one is emerging. While watching the Open, I was seeing the constant chatter, and it's also being reported later after Brian Harman won, about the gap between the majors. Do you think it's too small? It starts off with Augusta Masters in April, the British Open gets over in July, and within a 4-month period, you have all the 4 majors, and yet the majors have sort of delivered compelling content. That if you look at tennis by comparison, the Grand Slams start with the Australian Open in January. It goes on till mid-September. There's more of a window over there. Do you think this is something the golfing bodies need to look at?
I do agree with that, Digvijay. Absolutely. It definitely, stretching it out will definitely create more buzz, excitement amongst fans. Because after the Open now is done, there's no major left, and it's still only halfway through the year. So you only have those playoff championships on either side, on the European Tour and the PGA Tour, FedEx Cup playoffs, and that's what people are looking forward to. And then the fall season starts. A few years ago, I think around the COVID years, was when they actually changed this rule, because the PGA actually always happened after the Open. It was always in September or August, something like that. So it was a slightly longer major season. And yes, like you said, I didn't know about this debate, but if that is happening, I think it's a very constructive one, because this should happen. And maybe they will go back to that old format when the PGA was the last event of the year. Last major.
Shubhankar, before I let you go, a lot of talk around the last 12 to 18 months has been about taking golf and growing it globally. Do you think the time has now come for the golfing bodies to take one of those majors out of the US and take it around the world, maybe to Australia, maybe to Japan, where there's a lot of following for golf? Because as of now, there's one major in England, in the United Kingdom, and the rest 3 are in the United States.
Yes, I mean, ideally, absolutely. There's no major that happens east of the UK. Everything is westwards, and 3 majors in America, like you said. From one perspective, the epicenter of golf is in America, so I do understand why all 3 majors are there. And again, US PGA, it being held it being organized by the PG of America. I would think it would be very tough for them to go out of America. But in an ideal situation, in a parallel universe, definitely this would truly grow the sport exponentially. There would be a lot more interest, especially down under in Australia. There's the Australian Open that happens in tennis, and I think that's how they are really spread apart with the Wimbledon, French, US, and the Australian. For golf as well, yes, going down under, or even in Asia, there's so much potential in Asia. Uh, India is a growing economy, one of the fastest growing economies in the world. And I'm pretty sure all these guys are looking at that as well and thinking that if they can generate more business, then going east would be a great opportunity. So hopefully that happens. It would be great for golfing fans because golf is quite big in Asia. So many of the Americans come down to Asia to play golf. In Australia, again, down under, it's great. You saw the live event there, and there's always been the Australian Open where some of the biggest names, including Tiger Woods, have gone back in the day. So yes, if that happens, like again, saying it for the sake of repetition, it would be fantastic for golf. It would truly make it a global sport, and also would generate a lot of interest if a major championship happens later in the year, especially when it's summer down under, for example, or